Howdy folks, I hope you're well. Let's just get this angle sorted out. That's not a good look. So, wrong camera, not working. So I hope you're well. I still playing around with my cameras and trying to get them working right. So you're going to have to bear with me a minute. And I got the dog that's just barged in as well. Just give me a second. I'm just going to reset this camera. 1 second, guys. So I want to use the better camera. And I'm going to kick the dog out as well. Come on. So that's a bit better. Let's see what we've got going on. Technical problems. Fat mark. I will catch you all in a second. This camera's let me down and I wanted to get it all working, isn't it? She's not good. 1 second. Last chance. If not, we give up on new camera today. Should be working. Should be working. There we go. Let's see if that's better. Is that better? That's better. And although I completely agree with it, it's only made it me. I need that on here tonight. Off we go. Full start. Let's crack on. Yes, Scott, but family-friendly show. So my son made me that many months ago, and it's up in the office. But it's not family friendly, so I'm going to remind myself to take it down for every show. Well, actually, I'm going to reposition it in the office so that you can't see it. In fact, that's what we'll do. We'll put it up there where it can't be seen. So, hope you're well. Sorry about that, but the camera is now working, so it was worth messing around and getting it done. Let's see who we've got. We've got Kerry Hughes is in. Terry Luscombe's watching. Gary Smith. We are good, thank you. Zandy is now back with me, which is great. I love having him here. So it's all good. Yeah, Zandy came back on Friday, so he's been helping me out this weekend, which is good. Let's see who else we've got on. Graham Boy's watching. Kill this. My computer thing seems to be freezing again, so 1 second. Cameras. Let's go with this one and see. Technical problems, folks. Not good. Not good at all. We don't need that view of me, do we? Unbelievable, folks. Hang on a minute, folks. This is why we need a producer. 1 second. 1 second. We will get there. Never give up. Okay, let's hope that works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill that feed as well because I don't think it's helping. So let's see if we can start again, shall we? Only a 6 minutes to get the phone up and running, get the show up and running. So you can see that as well. That's not good, right? So hope you're well. Let's say hello to people that are in. Pretend like we've started again. New. Matthew John Herman Coisters is watching. Mark Joseph S. Bonan. Hi Sir Mark, I have a message to you. Let me know what it is. I wish you can read it. If you send me a message, I will catch up. I'm a little bit behind again on my Facebook messages. I had a bit of a weird weekend. I was busy Saturday in the sweltering heat outside, and then yesterday didn't go very well. A bit of a few unexpected things happened, and it was a bit of a weird day yesterday. So as a result, a little bit behind. Thomas Smith's watching, Patrick Cafin's watching, Zandy's watching, Jimmy Sinkis is watching, Tony Burns watching, Carl Douglas is watching. So we've got a lot of people watching, and we've got people telling me my camera's froze. How calm am I with my equipment? I tell you what I need. What I need is a dedicated Mac just to do the shows from. That's what I need, which at some point I need to get. At the moment, this is running through my laptop, which runs all the time, runs on everything else, all that stuff. But I do need a dedicated Mac just to run the shows from, and I won't, because the internet's fine, the internet's all good, but I need a dedicated machine to do these shows from. That's what I need, with cameras that don't keep letting me down and keep freezing like this one does, which is not good. So anyway, see, everything's frozen again. Technical problems, not good at all. Unbelievable. See if that one's any better. No, that one's no better. Oh boy. Lorenzo, how are you watching on YouTube? We're going to go with this one now because this one's working. We'll see if the other one carries on working or not, and we'll go between two cameras. That hopefully it'll work. So thanks for everybody watching. As I say, Lorenzo's watching. I haven't seen you in ages, spoke to you in ages, hope you're well. Neil Gibson's watching. I'll win at some point, Simon. You keep going, you never give up. That's the point. You never give up. Even though it's live and I look like an idiot, you never give up. Yeah, but that's what I need. I need a dedicated machine just to go live from. And that would be... that's what I need to do. John McFarlane's watching as well. Thank you, John. And I'm just going to see if this video is working, because it is a better video. Yeah, I'm going to go with this. So apologies for the problems, guys. If it freezes again, I'll just stick to my other one. It was working great last week, but anyway. Gary Smith, how's the loft going? It's going all right, Gary. I've just ordered the remaining timber for the nest boxes. I'm going to be building. Zandy and I are going to build the nest boxes together. I've ordered the fronts for the nest boxes, and we're going to put them together and build them ourselves. So once that's done, camera's froze again. Unbelievable. Once that's done, then the loft's about finished. We've got a few perches to put up in one of the sections. But apart from that, yeah, a few V perches to put up. We've got to get the nest boxes done. I got to make a slight alteration with the aviaries. I put some like Corex boarding underneath the aviaries to stop the poo coming down, and in the winds that all blew away. So I got to put the Corex board onto onto wood to make it more stable and that. There's a few little bits like that to do, but as I say, the main job now is nest boxes to be done, a few V purges up, mess around with the aviary traps, and that is about it. Well, in addition to that, I got to get lighting in there, and some electrics redone in there because the electrics are terrible in there. But I got to wait on somebody to do that for me. So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. So thank you. Ray Knight's watching. Neil Harvey's watching. Stephen O'Brien's watching. Thank you. So yeah, we're getting there with the lofts. Thank you for asking, Gary. I'll check back on this group because I can't see who's asked. Lorraine Butler's laughing at me, which I don't blame you, Lorraine, because it's highly entertaining. I think people should just watch this to see me stressing. Camera's not working, and we've got other people saying my camera's not working. So you can test as much as you want. It all working. I was on time virtually for me anyway, on time, and then it still didn't work. So I tell you what, I need a producer and I need a dedicated machine for the shows. That's what I need. But anyway, we carry on regardless, and no matter what, we keep going in the spirit of doing it. So I'm just going to check this camera. Oh, unbelievable. Big fail. Terrible. Right, we're carrying on with this one. This is what's happening. So I'm just going to move some of my windows open to this. Sorry, the camera keeps coming out a little bit. Again, laughable, I know, but what can you do? What we do is we keep going. Don't need any more over there. Okay, good. Right, so I'm going to do this one. Tony Hughes, I'm all right, thank you. Dave Beresford, yeah, we're all right. As I said, I got Zandy back here. Zandy came back on Friday, which was really good. One, because I miss having him around a lot, and two, because he helps me out with getting the lofts done and the stuff in the garage, and he's a great worker. So it's great to have him back, and yeah, dead pleased that he's back. And yeah, we're all right. Thank you for everybody that's asking. We keep going, and we're all right. So we've got a lot of people watching. We've got over 100 people watching. So thank you for that. Right. So I want to talk to you a few things. Mentioned last week miler racing. We've had more people join the miler racing group. For those of you who didn't see it, briefly tell you, miler racing used to be big up in the north of big up in North England, and basically the pigeons race a mile. Some people poo-poo it. Oh, that's not real pigeon racing. Who decides what is real pigeon racing? I would say, and the sport died off, and. The sport died off because it was mainly mining-based communities that did the miler racing. So those people say, oh, you know, we had somebody on here a couple of weeks ago, oh, the sport died off for a reason, and, you know, it's because it was never any good in the first place and all of this stuff. Well, not necessarily. It died off because it was predominantly miner-based, and the mining communities died off, and that's why it died off. I think, together with James Cook from Tomley Lofts, who set up the Facebook group, that it could be a great way of getting people back in to the sport. So that's what James has set the Facebook group up. If you want to go and join the Facebook group and find out more, he's posted some great old videos in there. He's posted some videos from the miler races for a while back, many years ago now. Go and join that. It's facebook.com/groups/miler pigeon racing, or just type in miler pigeon racing into Facebook search, and you will see the group and you can join it. There's about 35 people in there at the moment, so it's a small group of people that are interested in the miler pigeons. The miler pigeon is a very different type of pigeon. It's a big-chested powerhouse that has to fly a mile as quickly as possible. And like I said last week, I think we saw an old clipping of a newspaper clipping, and it showed a pigeon racing in 58 seconds, and that won. And second place was 58.5 seconds, so half a second in it between first and second. Fascinating to me. I love long distance. That's my interest moving forward, is long distance and extreme long distance as well. But I think the miler pigeon racing has the ability to really potentially help bring new people into it, and that's why we're looking to do it. So if you want to join it, just search in miler pigeon racing into Facebook, and you can go and join the group, and we'll accept you. As I said, it's James Cook from Tomley Lofts, his group, but I'm just helping out, promote it, and what have you. Let me shut the door because the dog opened the door again. So yeah, have a look and see what if you're interested. But I think whilst keeping the traditions of the miler racing, bringing new things in and new ways of doing it is potentially something that can really help. Russell van der Meers from South Africa says hello, welcome, and thank you for watching from South Africa. Lorraine Butler says, I hope you are paying well. My son, she meant. No, he does it for the love. There's no payment there. And remember that he owns most of the pigeons that are going to be here. He's going to own most of them anyway, so he's doing it because he loves them. And he was away for 3 weeks, and he really did miss it, which in a weird way is nice to see that he missed it. Wooly Lennox says it's like watching an old Bruce Lee movie with a 3 second delay. Sorry about that. Barry Rogers is watching. David Marston's watching as well. Right, so a couple of things before I carry on with other stuff I want to talk about. With the announcement from Boris Johnson yesterday, I asked very late, to be fair, only an hour ago, or maybe not even that, asked Ian Evans if there was any updates from the RPRA officially. I haven't received anything because, as I said, I only did it probably 45 minutes ago. I would hope, and again, it's only my opinion, it's nothing official or anything, but I would hope with the situation as we are now that you can travel anywhere as long as you're within your own family. I would hope that means that, well, I can't see any reason why training wouldn't be able to start based on what I watched last night at 7 o'clock. I would hope that means at least training can start officially, and that there's no reason why people can't train. So at least that's a step in the right direction. As regards to everything else, it's like I said to Zandy last night. I said, you're not going to go back to school till September. He was a GCSE this year. In fact, today was the first day he's supposed to be doing GCSEs. So their primary focus is going to be getting primary schools and secondary schools that are starting GCSEs next year. So with all of this in mind, I don't think anything of any real substance or consequence to the average member of the public is going to happen until July, which may just be in time to start young bird racing. But I think at least now with what's happened, or what's been said yesterday, is that people can travel pretty much anywhere, that we can start training. People can start training. And that's a good, positive thing, because at least we can get the birds trained, which is a big move in the right direction, like I said. So let's hope that there will be young bird racing. I think, we've said this before. My personal, you could forget old bird racing this year. I just don't think it's going to happen. But at least the things are moving in the right direction to be able to have young bird racing, which has got to be good. At least it's better than nothing. So we'll see. The other thing is, I have a flyer in Nambia in Africa. and the flyer has 4 mates who have started a pigeon club. So there's 5 of them in total, right? And they need pigeon clocks. They're in Nambia, and they are setting up their own club, right? The guy contacted me on Facebook a while ago. I said I would mention it on the next show, which is what I'm doing now. So what I'm trying to do is, look, I'm trying to put together a package of 5 in good working order manual, let's call them clocks, you know, the STB types or the Toulays or whatever. Doesn't really matter what, as long as they're in good working order, that we can potentially still get spares for them or what have you. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put together a shipment of 5 pigeon clocks to Nambia to help these guys set up officially their first club. They don't want they don't need anything else, but they cannot get pigeon clocks in Nambia. So I thought it would be nice if people have got an old clock that they don't use knocking about, that we could put together. I'll put it together, I'll organise it, I'll ship it at my own expense and what have you. A shipment of 5 clocks to go out to Nambia to help these guys set up a club. And they'll send photos and they'll show you what they've been doing and they'll show you the members with them and what have you. So if anybody out there has got an old Toulay or an STB or anything like that that is in working order, that could go out to Nambia and help these guys set up their 5-person pigeon club, then could you let me know? I'm just going to shut my door again because my dog keeps opening the door. So if anybody's got any knocking about, let me know, please. All right, I want to get together a shipment of 5 of these clocks and get them out to Nambia. They're not in Zambia, they're in Nambia. But who's that sending that? Robert. I will. I'll send you. Oh, Robert, you're from Benzing, mate. Great stuff. Excellent. All right, mate. Robert, I will send you the details after the show. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Robert from Benzing is watching. Great. So yeah, that's what we're doing there. So let me know on that, and thank you to Robert for offering. So yeah, I think 2020 racing, young birds, let's hope. It's all good. Nambia. They're from Nambia, Robert. Not Zambia, but Nambia. So yeah, that's that. No worries, man. Thank you. I haven't yet done the poll about Racing Pigeon Network. I will do, like I said, been a bit of a weird weekend, to be honest. And it's just been a bit of a weird one. It's thrown me back a little bit, if I'm honest. A couple of things I wanted to go through tonight. Tony Hughes says, "Hi mate, on the Central Southern Classic Flying website, you are not allowed to train." When was that last updated though, Tony? Because was that last updated based on last night's Prime Minister's broadcast? I would hope, based on what was said last night, the idea being is that you can travel anywhere in a car as long as you're only with people of your own household. That, based on that, from Wednesday, in England, it's been noted that in Wales they're locked down. But in England, and again, apologies, obviously people from all over the world, and Wales and Scotland and Ireland are watching. Certainly with England, I would hope that it means people can train. All right, so it's only been updated tonight. Central Southern Classic Flying Club only tonight has updated the website that they still can't train. I don't get why that would be. If you can train in a car, if you can travel in a car, if you can go and travel in a car to anywhere, as long as it's only with members of your own family or household, then why wouldn't you be allowed to train racing pigeons? I don't get it. I don't get why you wouldn't be allowed to do that if you're in England. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, well, let's see how it pans out, and I will try and speak to Ian Evans and see what he says. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to do that, but yeah. Russell Van der Meer says, "Do you mean Nambia?" Yeah, let me just look where that was, because then I can help and arrange. I'll come back to you, Russell. All right, I'll come back to you. I'll message you, Russell. If we're on Facebook already, could you add me? Facebook.com/Marky MARKY Lyford, and I will. If not, I'll hunt you down and I'll find you, and we can finger it. Maybe Namibia. Geography wasn't one of my good points, especially regarding Africa. Not great. Namibia. Yes, it was. Why am I getting Nambia with Zambia? It's Namibia. Can't even say it. Namibia. People thought I was drunk last week, by the way. I wasn't. That was only one beer I had, and I was... I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what screwed me up a little bit last week. I'm working with this new camera setup, which ain't going very well. And it's a different setup to how I'm used to, and I was a bit flustered. One would say I'm flustered again this week because the camera's not working right. But I certainly wasn't drunk. I only had one beer just in case. Even Gabby said people may have thought you were drunk. Yeah, so it was probably Namibia. But I will contact you. Anybody that can help, we need 5 clocks. But thank you to the people that reached out. No training in South Africa yet, you say as well. But they are saying if any birds go into a non-fanciers, that's the problem. But surely, if a pigeon went into a non-flyers, going to pick that pigeon up would be essential travel. And as long as people adhered to social distancing, i.e. the pigeon could be left in a box for the person to pick up and nobody had to go anywhere near, then what would be the problem with that? I don't know. Maybe I'm viewing things too simplistically. Maybe I am. Thomas a lot's watching, right? There's Lost watching. David Penrose watching. Dean McKee. Thanks for watching, folks. We've got 95 people watching, so thank you. And everybody's watching me go wrong and the cameras go wrong and all of that stuff. Isn't it great? Live broadcasts. And you see all of these TV shows now, proper big TV shows with all of these different people doing live broadcasts from all over, and I'm screwing it up, just doing it on there. Jonathan Parrott says, just because you can drive anywhere, does that mean you should? People are still getting COVID. I love pigeon racing, but I love my family war. I completely agree. But my point would be, Jonathan, I completely agree what you're saying. You know, of course, family is the most important thing. But what I'm saying is, for those people that do want to train, we have now been told we can go out in our cars pretty much wherever we want, but not in groups. And in that car can only be people of our household. So I would say, why couldn't I train my pigeons by taking them to the car, middle of nowhere, not surrounded by anybody else, letting them go and come back? I get the if pigeons got lost thing maybe, but I'm just saying, based on the thing we've got, the advice we've got from the government now, I don't see why we shouldn't be able to or couldn't. But again, it's only my opinion. I'm not saying anything other than my opinion on this. My opinion is my cameras are rubbish. Like Lorraine Butler said, all we can do is wait and see. Absolutely, Lorraine. That's all we can do. But as I say, we'll see what happens over the coming weeks. Cheyenne Martin Sean Crocker says, I can't see his training or racing until the end of July, mid-August. Stephen O'Brien says, if you can adhere to social distancing in shops like Asda, you can do it in clubs. I'm not talking about clubs because I think people would argue, or the government would argue, that's not essential meeting, and there's far more business-related things that probably need dealing with first. All I'm talking about is training. If somebody, not talking about like joint training and people meeting up to put birds on a transport or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a guy flying his pigeons, training his pigeons, using his own transport, not going with anybody else or anything like that. That's what I'm talking about. Pigeons can go into other loss from a flying at home, so no difference to training in the end. I agree. Neil Gibson, completely. Neil, let me know when you're coming on the show, mate. Jack Pigeons Lavender's watching, Gabby's watching, Mark Epsilon's watching. Yeah, I don't get it, but we'll see. I will try my best to speak to Ian Evans this week and see what's happening. Obviously, whatever comes out will come out officially anyway, but we'll see what he says. Let's move on from that and talk about other stuff. Richard Chambers has got his Flying Back to Pigeons initiative. Last time I spoke to him, he'd got 16 clubs now involved. Let's hope that there are more than that now. But again, if you run a club and you like the idea, which you should, of getting more people interested, then you need to get involved in the Flying Back to Pigeons initiative that Richard's running. Because it's going to help bring people in, and if 10% of the clubs out there just brought 2 new members in, that's over 350 people a year that those people are bringing in on their own as part of the club initiative, this new Flying Back to Pigeons club initiative. And I think that is well worth doing. I was looking back, moving on, I was looking back at the very first British Homing World article that I put out over a year ago now. It was like April last year. And I thought I'd review it in a way, some of it anyway, because I thought it'd be interesting to look back what I initially wrote compared to where I'm at now, and what my thinking, and more importantly, your thinking. I wrote this article in the Homing World. It went many places, actually. It went pretty much all around the world. It got published in the US, it got published in the Racing Pigeon here, it got published in, say, in the British Homing World. So my article, I'm going to share the screen so you don't watch my dodgy camera. That screen. Not that screen. Let's try this one. So I wrote, what's wrong? What's wrong with sport? Well, like I said, and I've said before, the numbers don't lie. Within the RPRA, there used to be over 60,000 people registered, and there's now, well, when I wrote this, there was 21,000. Now there's less than 20,000. So I put at the time the sport could all be dead within 20 years. I don't think that will be the case. I think there'll be a number, like Richard Chambers has said to me, there'll be a number of about 9,000 which it will maintain at, but that's still not good. I wrote that there'll be a stigma. There is a stigma. And pigeon racing has a stigma, and unfortunately, if you say you race pigeons to a member of the public, they'll think of flat caps and granddad with a whippet at his side, which is not the case at all. In my teens, many years ago now, 30 years ago, people thought it was funny that I kept racing pigeons. But nothing's really changed about that stigma. And the stigma's got to be addressed. This is, remember, I wrote this a year ago. People need to realise that we are the racing equivalent of thoroughbred racehorses. Just that these fly instead. They are athletes. What can we do to change it? Then I talked about trends. I talked about the sport of darts. 10, 20 years ago, the sport of darts was stigmatised, as pigeon racing is at the moment. And that's all changed now. And again, we talked about it before. How can we make pigeon racing trendy and have a trendy image like darts? All kinds of people watch darts now. I talked about the word fanciers. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think it's a outdated terminology that doesn't lend itself to the promotion of the sport moving forward. I've had people say to me, I am a pigeon fancier and I'll always be a pigeon fancier. And that's absolutely fine. But not for moving forward from a promotion point of view. You know, like if you look at it, what the RPI have done with their young fanciers, it's no longer the young fanciers membership. It's the young flyers or the young racers. And that's a step in the right direction. And moving forward into a new era of this sport, my personal opinion, for what it's worth, is that the word fancier needs dropping. It needs to be flyers or competitors or racers. I said we need to reframe it. In the UK especially, there is a stigma, more than other places in the world. I said about big money birds. There's nothing wrong with big money birds. It helps our sport. And like I said, just because there are big money birds out there doesn't mean you can't compete with the offspring of those big money birds. And I said, what's wrong with money? And this is something that I will say has really come out over the last 12 months. You know, I've been accused of, oh, he's only in it for the money. Well, I'd love to know where that money is, because I haven't a penny out of doing what I do with RPI yet. Nothing. And I don't get what is wrong with people being involved in the sport for money. There are very nice people in this sport and business that operate a business within the sport and make a living for it. People like James Crofts owns a very modest, great little family-run pigeon stud. What's wrong with that? And it's like I said in my article, most people need money to live and have a life. Most people have to work for a living, for money, not normally for the love of it. And then there seems to be an anti-capitalism sector of the pigeon people out there. Maybe it's rooted in the past. Maybe because it is rooted in a working man's sport. But that's the dichotomy, the irony of it being a working man's sport means that every man that's a working man has to go out to work for money. So I don't get, like I said, I've been accused of, oh, he's only in it for the money. Well, that if I am only in it for the money, which trust me I'm not, because if I was only in something for the money, I'd be choosing things a lot easier to do than this. I ain't earned a penny yet. It's cost me lots of money to get RPI to where it is now. And even if I was interested, which I've said in the past, there are some things I will be doing which ultimately will be commercial. And I don't see a problem in that. And I think we need to embrace people coming in. We need to embrace the idea that more money equals more promotion and a better sport for all of us. And like I've said before many times, just because you are competing with big money birds does not mean, as some of the one-off races I have covered and experienced show, you do not get the big money birds winning these one-off races a lot of the time. So the ones I've covered, very normal flyers lofts, pigeons out of flyers lofts, pigeon flyers won these races. And they were competing against some expensively bred pigeons. There should be a league system, like I said in there. We should have leagues. And then, like I said in there in the article before, there's the Premier League and there's the Sunday League. And that would lend itself to more of a league system, not based on money, but based on people's results. I think the idea of, like me, the haters say, he's only interested in the money. And the general idea that anybody that's earning money out of the sport is bad, I think that's a completely arse-about-face way of looking at it. This sport is going down in numbers like that. It's no longer should be viewed as just a working man's sport. It used to be 40, 50, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's not now. You've got pigeons racing for hundreds of thousands of pounds. You've got people racing out of their small back garden lofts, competing and winning against people with massive setups. That's what's great about this sport. Anybody can compete. Whether you've got a little 8x6 shed, you can, in theory, with dedication and hard work, compete with somebody that's got a mansion of a loft. I went on to say about hobby, sport versus business. There are professional flyers these days. Good, I say, because it means we've got to level up people that are flying out of their back garden, level up to them. Wouldn't it be the best thing in the world to be able to beat these professional flyers if you're flying as a hobby out of your back garden? I've had it in the net prior to getting these lofts set up that, he doesn't even keep pigeons at the moment. I say, so that's like saying, you can't go to watch a football match if you don't play football. Kind of ridiculous idea is that I'm not, I've got a vested interest, or I'm not serious just because I haven't kept pigeons for the last 12 months. Now that's changing because I waited until my situation permitted it to happen. But I've had it that I don't pigeons anymore. Well, most people that go to play see a football match don't play. Most people that go and see a horse race don't keep horses. Again, it's that mentality shift. What is the problem? Like I said in the article, but we're having businesses, sportsmen and hobby flyers all competing together. I don't see it. We look back at the good old days, and like I said earlier about the working men. I'm not judging anybody. If you view yourself as a working man, that's fine. But the reality is in the UK that there are more middle-class people now than there are working class. Just because of how everything, socio-economic things have changed. And one of the problems with pigeon racing is saying it's a working man's sport. You see it all the time, working man's money. Well, most people, 99.9% of people that are in the pigeon sport in any way, shape or form have to work, unless you're retired, let's say. So by definition, you could be a middle class earning decent money, semi-decent money, or you could be working a manual job and class yourself as a working class man. Everybody has to work. So this whole idea of that working mentality, working men's prices, I don't get it anymore. I think it's all about living in the past. There's not that many working class people compared to years ago. There are still working class people, but what I'm saying is the percentages 30, 40 years ago of pigeon racers were high percentages of working class people. And that's shifted now a bit. I don't get that looking back. I talked about governments in the article. Nothing's changed. Ian Evans is doing a great job, but again, he's shackled by the system. The one member, one vote that's been passed through on a trial year is a great thing. But guess what? If we don't, as an RPRA member, I'm not a member of a club, but I'm a member of the RPRA. So now I can actually vote. So I wasn't able to do because I wasn't a member of a club. The one member, one vote has to continue to happen, which the only way that's going to happen is if people actually go and vote using it in this trial year. It's as simple as that. People don't use it, that will be ample opportunity for people to argue that it should just go back to the old way. Club rules, like I said in the very first article, I'm amazed by some of the stories that have been told and continue to. That the stories have been added on 50-fold about clubs not allowing people to join because of this reason or that reason. Again, completely ridiculous reasons. I just don't get why that would happen. It's a mentality of, oh, he wins too much, we don't want him in. What kind of losing mentality is that? Sport recognition needs to happen. We need to recognize, get this sport officially recognized as a sport. There needs to be more charity and non-profit organizations involved. And we need a vision. As I said, this was written a year ago, and nothing's really changed. Nothing's really changed. I carried on talking about social media, technology, all of that stuff. And what I'm saying is, the biggest thing that's happened was the trial of one member, one vote. That's the biggest thing that's happened. But actually, a year in, if I wasn't such a, what's the word, resilient person, maybe I would think it can't change. It's gone way too far. And I don't think that because I'm determined and I'm resilient and all of that stuff. But with some of the experiences I've personally experienced in the last 12 months since I wrote that article, some people would think, you know what, this is a lost cause. Screw this, I'm not getting involved. But it's such a great sport, great hobby, that it cannot be allowed to carry on going down like it, because it just cannot. And there are so many things that can be done to get that mainstream interest in there, into the sport. Let's just see, we've got some comments. Now, I don't know who wrote this. This is a real pain. But I got a message here. Can you let everybody know all the Belgian birds? Oh, okay. So this must be Neil Gibson wrote it. All Belgian birds from Charlie's auction that have not been arranged will be collected. Will be collected by Mark Walker on the 25th and will be coming direct to myself. So once they have landed, I will personally get in touch with the buyers who have paid for them to arrange their collection. That's from Neil. So if you've got continental pigeons in from Belgium as part of little Charlie Gibson's charity auction, his father Neil is getting them in being collected on the 25th by Walker. They're all going to him, and he's going to get in touch with you. Yes, I will get in touch with you, Carl Douglas. Like I say, a bit of a weird weekend, but I will get in touch with you later on, mate. Thank you. Frankie, I haven't got a translation on my Facebook messages, mate, so I'm not quite sure what you said, but please let me know. Jonathan Parrott, get one-off racing on TV like horse racing and greyhounds. Get the public betting. Absolutely, Jonathan. I completely agree. That's the thing. Now, what I love about the miler racing is this: that when I've covered one-off races and the live one-off races before, sometimes there's a problem, and that problem is, once the birds have gone up and however many hours have passed, you're thinking, right, they're expected at this time or whatever time it is. So you base everything around that. And you can speak to the audience and you can speak to people online and all that live stuff. But one of the biggest problems is this, that you have no idea actually when that first pigeon is going to drop. That's a really big problem, to get that into a mainstream environment, whereas greyhounds, obviously there's some advertising, there's betting going on, and the races are, you know, whatever they are, 15, 20 minutes after each other. With horse racing, every half an hour or whatever. So there's a smaller time to fill. The problem with taking pigeon racing on TV, properly mainstream TV, is that you have no actual idea when that pigeon's going to arrive. You can't say, oh, well, the next minute it'll be here, because you can't. I've had races before where we've waited 6 hours, 4 hours longer than we thought it would be for the first pigeon to arrive. That's always been, in my head, the problem. Now, what I love the miler racing, because I said months and months ago, you could have shorter races, but I never thought of it down to a mile. So imagine you're televising a one-off race, but in the meantime, you've got 10 or a dozen or half a dozen, whatever, miler races happening in between time before the big race happens and the first birds come in. Imagine that. That's what I love about the miler racing. It's over and done with on a Sunday. It used to be typically done on a Sunday morning within an hour. You put that into what we're talking about context now, you could have half a dozen or a dozen races in the time while you're waiting for the main race to happen, the big attraction. And that's what I think it's so great. You do miler races, single birds, timed, great. The audience has got something to watch. The people watching it on TV have got something to watch. That's why I love it so much. I think it's great. Not just for that. I think it's great to get mainstream members of the public interested in it, because it takes less effort, it takes less time, and all of that stuff we talked about before. I did this ages ago. I'm going to put it on there now. And I still, there's some changes to this. I haven't edited the graphics from when I did it. There's some changes to it that I'm going to put up. Jeffrey Abel's watching, thank you. Mark Sutton's watching, privilege for you to be watching, Mark. Hope you're well. Kev Parsons is watching, privilege. Dave Bradshaw, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Stephen Gildy is watching as well. Thank you for watching, folks. I did this ages ago. I put this 3-phase revolution plan together. Now, like I said, there's some changes in this, because this was done, I don't know when I did this, over 6 months ago, right? But there are some changes that could be done to this. But when I did this, I had the idea of, right, the problem you've got is this. I'm trying to get the graphic up, 1 second. The problem you've got is that you're not going to get the thousands of people you need to raise pigeons in their back garden with today's modern life. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get the thousands. You get hundreds, but you're not going to get the tens of thousands we need to turn it around. And again, a little bit of a change here. So phase one, mainstream one-off race promotion. One-off races, I still say, are a massively great way of getting people interested, because you have people attending, don't even have to hold a pigeon, don't even have to own one or breed it. There's so many ways people can get involved. I also would say fancy pigeons, rollers, timblers, topplers, that's a way of people getting interested as well. That's something else that you would bring in, but stick with this plan now to revolutionize it, get people interested in one-off racing or miler racing. There's various other ways of getting them interested. And then phase two would be, some people think, you know what, I want to breed my own pigeons. It doesn't take anywhere near as much to breed a pigeon it does race a pigeon. And they would be breeding their pigeons to put into races and compete, that they don't have to actually keep the racing pigeon themselves. And then ultimately, a portion of those people will think, you know what, I actually want to race myself into my own back garden. And that would be great. But what I'm saying is, realistically and logically, you're not going to get the tens of thousands of people to race out of their back gardens in today's society with the lack of time and resources and land to a degree in back gardens that we need to turn it around. So there has to be another way. There has to be another way. That's one of the ideas. Like I said, miler racing. Like I said, syndicates for one-off races. Own a pigeon without even having to breed it, feed it, race it, or anything. It's there. And like Jonathan said earlier, then you can get one-off racing, another, like the miler racing, could be televised very easily, right? Really, actually very conducive to being covered on TV. Those types of racing, you get it covered on TV shows, channels. So where my long-term vision would be is there is the Racing Pigeon TV channel. Why not? Let's think big. We've got to turn it round. Not that much difference between racing horses and racing pigeons, other than that time delay, which we've already identified can be filled in by miler races and short races. I think that's the way it needs to go. And you do need to bring other elements of competitiveness in, the elements that horse racing and greyhound racing have got. Neil Dallas Greatwich says, I've said this before, one-off racing is a bad bet. Anyone that knows about betting wouldn't touch it. It depends what kind of betting you're talking about, Neil. Because obviously, if you've got hundreds of birds competing, you are, from a horse racing point of view, you're not going to have odds on an individual bird, but you could have odds on the flyer, the country. There's all kinds of things you can have odds on. And the data from these pigeons are relatively easy to collect from their training tosses and the hotspot races. Loads you can do. And if you carry on the idea of pool betting, that makes it a lot easier to do as well. There's a whole bunch that could be done. But I think that's one of the ways that we need to turn it around. Again, I applaud all of the efforts the RPRA and Richard Chambers specifically are doing, bringing new people in via schools. The Flying Back to Pigeons initiative. Great. Target people in their 40s and 50s that maybe have a little bit more time, that want to get back into it or have never been in it, but it's ideal for them to do as a hobby. I applaud all of that. But I still don't think, to get back to anywhere near the numbers involved, it's going to happen. That we need 60,000 people in 89, under 20,000 now. What I want to see is in 10 years' time, yeah, we've got X amount of people that keep pigeons. Let's hope it's 30,000 plus. But we've got 100,000 people that actively compete without actually having to keep pigeons in their own back garden. Or 100,000 people that own a pigeon or have a syndicate of pigeons, whatever. There's got to be a different way. Dinny Kinsella's watching. How are you, Dinny? Ingo's watching. Ingo Bergsman's watching as well. Hope you're well. Terry Grimes, how much? Sorry for not, forgot to let you know that I'm watching. Take care, Terry. I hope you're well, Terry. Michael Keeley says, lot of Greyhound men packing up. One loft as a start would appeal to lots. There you go. There you go, Mike. I didn't realise that a lot of Greyhound men packing up. I wonder if they're packing up at the same rate that Pigeon people are. Jonathan Parrott, if you stand... 1 second, let's highlight this comment because it's worth highlighting. Jonathan says, if you stand at one-off race, and as I have all around the world, there's lots of lads bet on it. It's fab. You don't have to... What's going off? You don't have to win in bird to win money and have good sport. Absolutely. There's lots of ways it can be done. Completely. Tony Hughes says, I raced in the 90s in the National Games 10,000 pigeons, mate. There you go. But it's changing, and we've got to embrace how we get tens of thousands of people interested, because we just ain't going to do it, people racing in their own backyards. I personally haven't got time to race, right? The only way I'll race is long-term, long distance. Zandy wants to race short distance. I ain't got the time for it. I told him I ain't got the time. I've got business to run. I got other stuff going on in life. I've got RPI. I've got all of this other stuff going on as well. And I'm not dissimilar to tens of thousands of people out there that, look, I was targeted on Facebook by a horse racing syndicate. They targeted me for 60 quid. You could own a part of a racehorse. Admittedly, there was 4,000 parts of the racehorse you could own, but you could own it. Why can't that be the same for pigeons? I think it should. Wooly Lennox says Mark Gilbert's top Greyhound flyer, top flyer in his ex-Greyhound man. Zach Brocklebank watching as well. How are you, Zach? Jonathan Parrott, I have raced horses, greyhounds and pigeons, and there isn't a lot of difference. There you go. So, they're two sports that are televised. We've got to get ours done. I've already identified the time lag in the big race, the waiting around. I've been waiting around for 4 hours on one race last year. We even had audience members telling jokes to fill the spot. Because what do? You can only go around the audience that wants to speak to you so much. You can only say hello to people and give shout-outs to people watching. What do? Well, you have mile races in between. That's what you do. Or 5-mile races in between. And you keep that excitement going. And you have it on the screen. And you have it televised. That's what we need. And you allow Joe Bloggs, who's completely wrong about pigeon racing, to be able to own a pigeon, not keep it, not hold it, but have it in that race. And not just have it in the big race, he could have a miler pigeon that competes every single week. That's the other thing about these miler pigeons. They raced every weekend. Spring, summer, autumn and winter. They raced every weekend because it's a mile. And they did it. And they're a different type of pigeon, but they did it. Kieran Stewart Almond is in the house. You're late, Kieran, but thank you for coming. So you fill it with the milers in between. And one-off racing, I haven't got time to talk about it tonight. One-off racing doesn't have to be how it is at the moment. It can be different. Like, for instance, why couldn't we have miler pigeons that are one-off pigeons but compete every week? Rather than just that one big prize at the end. Why couldn't we have weekly competitions in one-off races locally? Like I said, it doesn't have to be thousands of pigeons. It could be 100-bird community loft that's a one-off race, where a portion of those pigeons are available for members of the public to get. So you could get kids coming in and parents of the kids coming down on a Saturday or a Sunday to watch their pigeons compete between 1 mile, 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever. A completely different way of thinking has got to happen for this sport to turn around in the UK and Europe. Certain places in Europe, like we said, Romania and Poland, massive growth. But they're not here. And there's a reason they're growing so much. And the same things don't apply here. We've got to change. So I look back at my article a year on. I am going to write part 3 of that soon. Kind of looking back at the last 12 months and stuff. But I look back at that and think, actually, one member, one vote's got a chance. You've got to use one member, one vote. If you are an RPRA member watching this and you don't use one member, one vote this year, then don't complain that nothing changes, because you've got to use your vote this year. Because if you don't use the vote, it'll be an ideal excuse to say that people didn't participate in that, so we will just go back to how it was. You've got to use your vote. Even if double the amount of people vote compared to what the normal voting process happens, that will be enough to justify that this works. And we have got to change, in my humble opinion, the way we think about the sport. We've not got to be so insular. There's a lot of people that said to me, and via people I know, well, it doesn't affect me, or I won't be around for when the sport declines, or whatever. Look, I got a 16-year-old son. People out there watching this have got children. Surely you want to see the sport thrive. And we've got to change our ways of thinking. And some of the things I've just talked about, I think can happen. Make that happen. We'll catch up with last comments. Adam Cooper, Adam in the UK, good. Big thumbs up, thank you. Willie Learnt says, I kept greyhounds for years and pigeons is very same. Feed right, health, train, etc. Absolutely. Adam Cooper, when can we race then, please? Asking the wrong guy. Asking the wrong guy, Adam. Eddie Barry's just tuned in. Eddie, I hope you're well, mate. One of the good people in the sport of pigeon racing, Eddie is. Got a lot of time for him. What a nice guy. Thanks for tuning in, Eddie. Jonathan Parrott, I did just that for charity. I took the top 16 in the Fed first, young bird race in the Fed, stopped it for the second race. Well done, Jonathan. So that's what I'm talking about. These are the things we've got to change and look to. And we've got it, like I said, one-off racing. I'm a big fan of one-off racing. But one-off racing as it is doesn't have to be the way it is with one big prize. It could be, right, there's 100 pigeons in this one-off race, but instead of you pay, £200 to enter it, you pay £10 a week or £10 a month or whatever it is, and birds compete on a weekly or a monthly basis. There's so many different ways of doing it. I do think the miler thing can help a lot. If you haven't yet thought about this, do so and let me know your thoughts. I would really appreciate them. It's 12 minutes past 9, so I've gone over a little bit, but makes up for all the messing around at the beginning. These cameras are a nightmare, but thank you for sticking with me. The people that have, I really do appreciate it. If you haven't yet joined the RPI Facebook group, please do so. If you're not a member, facebook.com/groups/Racing Pigeon International, or just type in Racing Pigeon International into the search bar and you will see the group. We are not far off going for, we're about 300 members short of 8,000 now. Thank you to everybody that's in that group, and thank you to the moderators that help police the group and help out with the group as well. I will be back next week, 8 o'clock Monday, here on Facebook and YouTube, hopefully with 3 cameras that actually work. And again, thank you very much to everybody that's tuned in. I have actually, if you get the Homing World, I put a little letter to the editor in about miler racing pigeons this week, and I put a little advert in. Think out of the box, do a letter to the editor, but also put a little advert in. Because we need to find people that keep this strain of the miler pigeon. We need to find them. Also need to find out about the Short Distance Union. We cannot find any details about who runs the Short Distance Union. If anybody knows, please let me know. In the meantime, I am catching up on Facebook over the next 24 hours. If I owe you messages, phone calls, what have you, I will get back to you. If you would like to speak to me about anything we talked about and more, please do so. The best way, the very best way, I've said it before, I will say it again, the very best way of getting hold of me, although be it slightly delayed over the last few days, but you will get a quicker response than Facebook, just because I can't keep up with Facebook messages. The very best way of messaging me is via WhatsApp on 07887 345 600. 07887 345 600. That's the best way of getting hold of me. I've got some new stuff coming out next week, which I'm going to be telling you about next week, and I will be giving all the info that I've got there. Thank you very much for watching, to everybody that's continued to watch, even with the technical issues at the beginning. Much appreciated. And thanks for watching. Catch you next week.